Welcome, friends. Welcome back to the kitchen. Today I'm going to redo a recipe from 6, 7 years ago on the channel. 6, 7 years ago, it didn't get a whole lot of views. 6 or 7 years ago, it was a different format than the format that we make now. This channel, over the 17 years that it's been on YouTube, has gone through several changes in the way we do things. And I thought I'd revisit it, well, also because there was a big bag of apples on sale at the grocery store, and it was such a super deal. I thought, I'm going to make an apple cake. And I went back and looked at a bunch of apple cake recipes that we've done in the past, and this one stood out. And I remember this as being an excellent, incredibly good cake. It is based on, yes, chicken. It was a really good cake. It's based on a traditional French recipe from the coast of France, but I've changed it a little bit. And the first change that I made was I browned the butter. So into this frying pan goes the butter, and we're just going to melt and brown it. Okay, so the pan had overheated a little bit. It was a little bit hot, so just take it off the heat and just let the butter melt. And I'll put it back on the heat just a little bit more gentle this time. This is a stainless steel pan that on this induction cooktop heats very quickly. I really like this pan. Anyway, so browning the butter does a couple of things. It adds a nuttiness flavor to the cake. It also changes the texture of the crumb of the cake and makes it a little more sturdy, I think is the word I'm looking for. So I'll just let this butter brown. Okay, so the butter is browned enough. So I'm going to put it into the stand mixer. I'm not going to scrape out the pan. We're going to leave a little bit of butter in the pan, put it back on the heat. I'm going to drop stuff. Always going to drop stuff. That's why I've got a cupboard full of spares. Okay, so the pan is back on the heat. Bring that back up to a medium 5. And I've got some chopped up onions. Chopped up onions are for the next recipe. These are apples. I've got chopped up apples, although apples and onions fried together taste really good to me. Put the apples in the pan, a little bit of the sugar from the cake mixture sprinkled on top. And we're just going to fry that off just to make the outsides of the apple a little bit golden brown. Meanwhile, here in the flour, I've got some cinnamon, baking powder, and salt. And we'll just give that a little bit of a stir together. Good enough. Apples are coming along, but they're not quite there yet. So give them a stir, keep an eye on them. Let them go just a little bit longer. Now, like I said, this is my interpretation of an older French recipe. And I've done it once before on the channel. And back when I did it last time on the channel, I used brandy, probably this bottle of brandy or this from this manufacturer, but cognac, definitely use brandy or cognac. This time I'm not going to use it because the traditional ingredient for this is rum. And not rum spelled R-U-M, but rum spelled R-H-U-M. This is traditional to a port city in France, and this port city in France would have been the place where they received casks of rum coming in from the French Caribbean. Rum produced on the French islands in the Caribbean is called pretty much in English rum agricole, but it's spelled the French way with an H. And when English recipe writers see rum, they just assume that it's just the French spelling of rum, and they try to shoehorn English or Spanish rum in, and it's different. English and Spanish rum, if you don't know, is made from molasses, the end product of sugar production. This is made from fresh pressed cane juice before the sugar is extracted, so it gives a different flavor. Really close to cachaça. It's so close to cachaça, it is cachaça, or cachaça is it. Anyway, so traditionally this cake, just like cannelé, would have used rum from one of the French Caribbean islands. all of that to say, use the brown spirit that you've got in your cupboard. Use English rum, use Spanish rum, use French rum, use brandy, use cognac, use whiskey, use bourbon. Use what suits your palate is really what it comes down to. Sort of my idea always is know what the tradition is and then, throw it out the window and do what you need to do. So the apples have softened a little bit. They're starting to get brown around the edges. I think we're at the point where we could put in the rum. I'm going to use this St. James rum. Stand back. Few glugs. And if you want to, you can flambe it. Okay, so the flambe step, and it's still burning, not strictly necessary. I kind of like the flambe. Let me get the torch out of the line of fire. I kind of like the flambe because it changes the flavor a little bit. It starts to give a really caramely, roasty flavor to the whole thing. Just cooking off the alcohol and burning off the alcohol without flambeing works just fine as well. So this is looking good. I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm just going to leave it there, and we're going to turn ourselves to the cake. Okay, I'm going to switch this out and put the whisk on first. And we're going to whisk 2 eggs into the brown butter. A little bit of vanilla, and then the sugar. Okay, so that whips up nice and fluffy. Oh, that mixture all on its own. That's my new favorite thing. Okay, so the beater blade goes back on. Lock it up, and a little bit at a time, the flour mixture goes in. Now, I've got a springform pan that I have greased, buttered, and floured. It's all ready to go. You could put a piece of parchment paper in the bottom if you really wanted to. You don't have to use a springform pan. You could use just a regular round cake pan or a square cake pan or a cake dish. It doesn't really matter. It's not really all that critical. Just know that different size pans will change your cooking time a little bit. So, into the batter, we're going to put the apples and whatever sort of butter mixture is in the pan. In that goes. Smells wonderful. Stir that into the batter. Spread it out. And into an oven preheated to 350 degrees. See you in a little bit.
That's a good looking cake. I'll get some forks.
It is a good looking cake. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks.
It's got a nice brown texture to it.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice golden color.
Could have gone in a smaller pan, smaller diameter, but
bigger?
yeah.
Use the pan you've got.
Okay, Jules, dig in.
There's a nice apple cake.
Yeah.
That adds a nice little, kind of takes away the cloying sweetness and adds a different kind of, undertone to it.
It's light, it's fluffy. Brown butter gives a depth of flavor. I changed the mixing order from the original recipe.
No!
Yes. And I think it's given it a better texture. So.
How will you know?
Well, I sort of remember making this before and it had a sturdier texture.
Okay. Okay, so it's already gone. Clearly, we should have cut 2 pieces. Glenn's got a serious face on. Thumbs up.
Okay, rum agricole. But if you can't get or don't have it, use whatever brown spirit you've got hanging around. Doesn't really matter. It just gives a little bit of base note to the bottom end. Yeah.
We'll fight over that piece later.
Thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.